What's going on, friends? Welcome back to College Sports Corner. Hope you're having a great weekend. Good Sunday morning to you. Hope it's a beautiful weekend where you are. It's actually beautiful here after we had these storms on Friday, but all weekend long, sun's been out. It's been nice and cool. Hadn't gotten hot at all here in Southeast Texas. We're going to go over these games yesterday. Had some pretty good ones. Got a little bit of news here we're going to go over. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. I didn't write them down. I just screenshotted some stuff off my phone that's a little bit interesting here. First of all, Big 12 Conference reached a new 6-year media rights agreement with ESPN and Fox, worth a total of $2.28 billion. $2.28 billion, which averages out to $380 million a year. This would average $31.6 million for the 12 schools. Big 12 making a stability play but not going to the market. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Big 12 Conference, ESPN and Fox, $2.28 billion television deal. Evidently, last night I didn't watch the Michigan State game. I was watching the Kentucky, Tennessee, and then another one after that. Evidently, after the game, there was a fight in the tunnel, and Jim Harbaugh saying one or two of his players were assaulted by Michigan State players. There's a video. I saw the video. The video wasn't very long. It was, 10, 11, 12 seconds. Looks like they kind of ganged up on the Michigan player. Don't know the whole situation, what happened, what was said, anything like that. Still kind of looked like they kind of ganged up on the player. Police are investigating, believe it or not. The Ann Arbor police are investigating. Jim Harbaugh says it's assault on two of his players in the tunnel after the game. Like I said, there is a video out there showing what happened. It says here, shows Michigan State players gathered around Michigan defensive back J.D. McBurrows, throwing punches and kicking him. Yeah, I did see the video. It looked pretty bad, but like I said, don't know the whole situation, what started it. I know these two are rivals, bad blood and all that. But still, how many rivalries do we see? Pretty much almost every week in college football, but none of this kind of stuff happens. So, sure more is going to come out next day or so. We'll see what happens there. Okay, let's get to these scores. We're going to start on Thursday. Utah 21. Washington State 17. Rising did not play that night for Utah. He's injured. So Barnes played. He was 17 for 27, 175 yards and a touchdown. Grover, 76 rushing yards and a touchdown. Kincaid had a touchdown catch for Utah. Washington State's Ward was 27 for 31, 222 yards, threw a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown. Janikowski kicked a 42-yard field goal for Washington State. Utah was 7 for 15 on third downs, 344 total yards. Washington State was 3 for 10 on third downs, 264 total yards. Ward was sacked, though, 4 times by the Utah defense. Virginia Tech, man, they almost beat North Carolina State. North Carolina State wins 22-21. NC State's Morris, 20 for 29. 265 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Thomas had 118 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns for the Wolfpack. For Va-Tech, Wells, 243 passing yards, touchdown. He also ran for 2 touchdowns also. Smith had 141 receiving yards and a touchdown. NC State was 8 for 19 on third down conversions, 356 total yards. Their defense had 4 sacks. Virginia Tech, they were 1 for 11 on third down. Wow. 293 total yards. They only had 10 first downs. Kind of amazing that they only lost this game by 1 point when you look at that. But hey, let's see here. Southern Miss 39. Louisiana Lafayette 24. I guess they just call it Louisiana now. Louisiana had 4 turnovers in this game. You're not going to win a game when you commit 4 turnovers, probably. Southern Miss's Brownlee, 102 receiving yards, 2 touchdown catches in that one. Friday, BYU. Man, what's going on with BYU this year? They lost to East Carolina 27-24. This game was 17-17 at the half. East Carolina's Allers, 2 rushing touchdowns. Conner, Conrad, had the 33-yard winning field goal as time expired in this one. BYU's Hall, 144 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He was 18 for 25 on the night. When it came to third downs, East Carolina was 2 for 8. BYU 6 for 13. Guess that's why it took a field goal for them to win in the last few seconds with stats like that. Let's see here. 2 overtime game. La Tech loses to Florida International 42-34. Florida International's James, 321 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Joseph ran for 2 touchdowns. Louisiana Tech's Crosby, 115 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. Let's get to Saturday. Toledo beat Eastern Michigan, 27-24. Toledo's Gleason, 237 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. Eastern Michigan's Evans, 88 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Nice game for him. Eastern Michigan, though, their defense had 4 sacks and a turnover. So, played pretty good ball. That's why they lost by 3 points, I guess. Florida State, 41. Georgia Tech, 16. Florida State's Travis, 396 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. They had 34 first downs in this game. They were 9 for 13 on third down conversions. 642 total yards Florida State put up on Georgia Tech. Wilson, he had a 78-yard touchdown catch. Georgia Tech's defense, they sacked Travis 4 times and forced 2 turnovers, but somehow the offense can only manage to score 16 points in this game off of all that. Guess that's one of the things they say about Georgia Tech. Defense probably better than the offense. I don't know. Let's see here. U of H beat South Florida 42-27. This was 14-14 in the first quarter. Houston's Tune, 380 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 31 for 37. Snead rushed for 2 touchdowns. Dell had 9 catches for 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. 490 total yards University of Houston put up on South Florida. South Florida's Marsh, 275 passing yards and a touchdown. Batty, 106 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. South Florida's defense, they had 3 sacks and a turnover in this game. Oklahoma beats Iowa State 27-13. 7-point game at halftime. That's crazy, isn't it? How do you say this guy's name? Farouk? For Oklahoma, 41-yard touchdown catch. Zach Schmidt caught a touchdown pass. He's the kicker. I didn't see the game. I'm guessing it was a fake field goal, and Holder threw it back to Schmidt, and he ran it in for a touchdown. Maybe some of you saw that game. Iowa State committed 3 turnovers, only 66 rushing yards, 373 total yards in that game. So Iowa State, they've kind of fallen pretty far this last couple of years, man. Let's see here. UConn. Look at UConn. Beat Boston College 13-3. UConn's Jolie, 62-yard TD catch. Rulis had 2 field goals. BC's Jerkovic, 155 passing yards, threw 2 interceptions. Lighton had a 19-yard field goal. UConn was 3 for 13 on third downs, 295 total yards. Defense forced 5 turnovers and sacked the quarterback twice. BC was 3 for 13 on third down, 335 total yards. Defense, they have 5 sacks also. So, UConn doing a lot better than they have been the last few years. I want to say this is their 4th win of the season. I don't keep up with UConn all that much, but I think this is their 4th win of the season. And did you see the feature on Game Day yesterday? Their coach, Jim Moore, lives in an actual haunted house, and he talks about it. There's a video out there. Go check it out. Pretty cool if you're into that kind of stuff. Field goal game here. You would never thought that these two would be in a field goal battle, but Miami beats Virginia 14-12, and it went into 4 overtimes. Both these teams were 5 for 16 on third downs throughout the game. Miami's, here we go. Borgales, he hit a 38, a 20, a 42, and a 37-yard field goal. Betridge for Virginia, 27, 23, and 2 41-yard field goals. Miami, 273 total yards in this game. Virginia, 328. Definitely that is not where these two teams expected to be this time of year. Uh, Man, because heck, Armstrong for Virginia, he was a good quarterback. Don't know what happened there. Charlotte, they get rid of their coach this week, and I guess they all rallied together. They came here to the Houston area and beat Rice 56-23. Charlotte's Reynolds, 254 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Spencer, 84 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. So he caught every one of those. McMahon for Rice, 218 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Rosner, 105 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Charlotte scored 21 points in the second and third quarters. So 21 in the second quarter, 21 in the third quarter. They ended up with 514 total yards. They scored touchdowns. Charlotte did on 7 consecutive drives. So that's a way to bounce back after a tough week. Minnesota beat Rutgers 31-0. Morgan was 14 for 21, 122 yards. Ibram, 36 rushes, 159 yards, 3 touchdowns. Rutgers Wimsatt, 68-yard passing. That's it, 68 yards. Monangai, 29 rushing yards. Rutgers, 7 first downs in this game, 2 for 10 on third down, 134 total yards. That was it. And they committed 2 turnovers. Rutgers did not have a good day yesterday. Georgia State beat Old Dominion 31-17. Georgia State's Granger, 195 passing yards, touchdown, rushed for a touchdown. He also ran for 104 yards. Thrash, 87 receiving yards, a touchdown, including a 38-yard touchdown catch. Old Dominion's Wolf, 257 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Harvey had a 61-yard touchdown catch. Georgia State's defense had 6 sacks in this game. The offense was 3 for 4 on fourth down. Pretty damn good. 413 total yards. Old Dominion, 4 for 14 on third down. Not good. 283 total yards. App State beat Robert Morris 42-3. Bryce for App State, 185 passing yards, 4 touchdowns in this one. Davis, Page, Sherman, and Gibbs all had touchdown catches. Rob Morris, they only 70 passing yards, only 77 rushing yards, 147 total yards. But Jenkins got him on the board with a 45-yard field goal, so wasn't all bad, I guess. Iowa beats Northwestern 33-13. Iowa's Petrus, 220 passing yards and a touchdown, ran for a touchdown. Stevens kicked 4 field goals for Iowa in this one. Northwestern Sullivan, 159 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Not too bad of a day for him. But they didn't score until the second half of this game. The first half, I guess they were just sleepwalking. Northwestern ended up with 177 total yards, only 18 rushing yards. Iowa, 393 total yards. New Mexico State beat UMass 23-13. UMass led this game by 3 points at the half. New Mexico State 0 for 12 on third downs. I mean, I ain't going to get it done. Georgia, Florida. A lot of people thought Florida was going to give them quite a game. They did. They gave Georgia some trouble in a few areas, but Georgia wins 42-20. Bennett, 316 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks. Edwards, 106 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. McIntosh, 90 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Bowens, 5 catches, 154 yards and touchdown. Florida's Richardson, 271 passing yards and a touchdown. Etienne, he rushed for a touchdown. Henderson, 5 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. Georgia, 316 passing yards, 239 rushing yards, 555 when it came to the total yards. Linebacker Nolan Smith, good player. Hurt his shoulder in the first half. He came out the game for the rest of the game. Like I said, they did make some mistakes that Florida helped them with: drop passes, turnovers, penalties. So it wasn't a perfect game for Georgia, but they still came on top pretty big. Florida 271 passing yards, 100 rushing yards, 271 total yards. That's not too good. They did make a run in the third quarter, scoring 17 points, but just wasn't enough. This was a really, really good game. Ohio State 44, Penn State 31. 1 point game at the half. Ohio State only scored 3 points like in the third quarter. But they did outscore Penn State 28-17 in the fourth quarter. Penn State played good. First half, their offense was defense played great the whole first half. Penn State's offense finally started clicking in the second half. Went out, and then both sides of the ball were playing good the whole game until about the fourth quarter. I don't know if they just wore out, Ohio State just did them in or what, but really, really good competitive game until about the fourth quarter, and Ohio State just started running away with it. Clifford for Penn State, 371 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw 3 interceptions. That was a big part of them losing. Washington, 179 receiving yards and a touchdown. Ohio State Stroud, 354 passing yards, a touchdown. Henderson, 2 rushing touchdowns. Ohio State, 22 first downs in this game, 4 for 12 on third down. 452 total yards, only 98 yards rushing, which is kind of crazy. Okay, let's see if I can say this guy's name. Toimolo, I think that's how you say it. Toimolo. For Ohio State on defense. He had a sack, he had a strip fumble, tip for an interception, and a pick 6 at the end of the game. Hell of a performance by this guy. I've watched a couple of Ohio State games this year, and he's good, very involved in it. But man, the performance he had yesterday against Penn State, man, that was incredible. Like I said, Penn State offense kind of sputtered in the first quarter. Came alive in the second quarter, started scoring points. Both sides of the ball played great until the fourth quarter. Started kind of falling off. But yeah, they kept it competitive. And if I was a Penn State fan, I'd be proud of the way they played. Of course, I'd want to win, but the way they played against Ohio State, I mean, hell of a lot better than they played against Michigan. But yeah, so Penn State fans, you got a team to be proud of. You just need a few more pieces in place, and there you go. Another good one. Well, I don't know if it's good. It was impressive to watch, at least. Tennessee 44, Kentucky 6. Hooker Henderson, 245 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, rush for a touchdown. Hyatt goes off again, 5 catches, 138 yards, 2 touchdown catches, which were a 55-yard touchdown catch and a 31-yard touchdown catch. And he broke some records there at Tennessee. I want to say like most touchdowns in the season by a receiver or something like that. Or yeah, if you want to find out, you can look him up. But he broke some Tennessee records there. Levis for Kentucky, only 98 passing yards, and he threw 3 interceptions. So Tennessee was 5 for 12 on third down, 2 for 12 on fourth down. 422 total yards. Their defense had 4 sacks and 3 turnovers in this one. Kentucky, 2 for 13 on third down, 2 for 3 on fourth down, 205 total yards. They just manhandled Kentucky, which sets up great for next week. Tennessee and Georgia, that's going to be a hell of a game. We'll go over some of these games that are coming up, mention them here at the end. But yeah, that's setting up for a good one. Georgia's got a few issues here. I mean, they've had close games here. Tennessee really hasn't. So if Tennessee won that game, I would not be surprised, but we'll see what happens. I mean, big game. Okay, the ending here, this one was kind of what we just talked about. Michigan 29, Michigan State 7. McCarthy from Michigan, 167 passing yards, touchdown. Corum had 177 rushing yards and a touchdown. 443 total yards for Michigan. For Michigan State, Thorne, 215 passing yards and a touchdown. Pass to Coleman. State scored in the first quarter only. that was it. They had 11 first downs. They were 2 for 11 on third down, 252 total yards. I don't know what's going on with Michigan State this year. I figured they'd be better than that. But they do have a good coach. So Mel Tucker, I'm probably not this year, but in the offseason, I think he'll get that crap straightened out. I think they'll be back to competitive next year. I mean, I'm sure they'll win couple more games this year maybe, but that's just not the Michigan State we're used to seeing. So, and then like we mentioned earlier, the fight in the tunnel, and police are investigating it now. So, kind of a mess there at that game. TCU beat West Virginia 41-31. This is actually a 7-point game at halftime. Dugan for TCU, 341 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Miller, 119 rushing yards and a touchdown. Barber had a 71-yard TD catch for the Frogs. West Virginia's Daniels, 274 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Donaldson, 104 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good game for him. Each team had 2 turnovers in this game. TCU was 5 for 12 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, 493 total yards. West Virginia, 9 for 16 on third down, 2 for 3 on fourth down, and they had 430 total yards. So they were competitive. They kept it in there. Oregon beat Cal 42-24. Nix, man, 412 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 2 interceptions, but he also ran for 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's just, man. Plummer for Cal, 214 passing yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions. Milner, he threw 2 touchdown passes also. Oregon, 586 total yards. Cal, 402 total yards, only 74 rushing yards for them. Each team had 2 turnovers, and each team had 30 yards racked up in penalties from that game. This one here I did not expect. Kansas State 48, Oklahoma State 0. Man. Howard for Kansas State, 296 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Vaughn, 158 rushing yards, including a 62-yard touchdown run. He also had a touchdown catch also, so he helped out a lot. Warner, 97 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Those touchdowns were 38 and 41-yard TD catches. Oklahoma State, Sanders, 13 for 26, 147 yards, and an interception. Kansas State, 21 first downs in this game. Oklahoma State only had 14. Kansas State was 5 for 15 on third down. Oklahoma State was 5 for 15 on third down also. Kansas State 3 for 3 on fourth down. Oklahoma State was 1 for 4 on fourth down. 494 total yards for Kansas State, 217 for Oklahoma State. Kansas State racked up 60-yard penalties. I didn't expect that. I figured this Mike Gundy team would be like more competitive than they were yesterday. Kansas State just had their way with them. It's like almost every time they had the ball, they were in the end zone. So Mike Gundy got some work to do there, that's for sure. That's crazy. So they've lost Kansas State, TCU. Those are the good teams, but still. You want to beat one of those teams at least. I didn't see this one coming either. Wake Forest 48, or Louisville 48, Wake Forest 21. Louisville's Cunningham, 164 passing yards, 2 rushing TDs. Evans, 106 rushing yards and a touchdown. Clark, 46-yard pick 6 for Louisville. Riley, he had a 90-yard pick 6 for Louisville. Wake Forest Hartman, I like this guy. He's a good quarterback. Just wasn't his day. 271 passing yards, touchdown, 3 interceptions, though. This actually was a 1-point game at halftime, and Louisville just kind of poured it on. They outscored Wake Forest 35-0 in the third quarter. Damn. Louisville defense forced 8 turnovers in this game also and had 7 sacks. So defense was putting it on, offense was putting it on. They had 19 first downs, 4 for 12 on third down conversion. 410 total yards. They ran a total of 65 plays yesterday. Wake Forest, they had 29 first downs, a lot more than Louisville did. 8 for 16 on third down, 400 total yards, 90 total plays. And you just sit there wondering, how the hell did they lose? I don't know. I guess when you get outscored 35-0 in the third quarter, these things tend to happen. So, won that last night pretty close all the way. Almost was an upset. I mean, it got real close to being an upset. USC 45, Arizona 37. Close game all the way to the fourth quarter. USC's Williams, 411 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Washington, 118 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. 621 total yards for USC. Arizona's De Laura, 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, interception. Singer, 141 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Arizona ended up with 543 total yards. They did have 76 yards of penalties and a turnover. But you got to be impressed with Arizona after where they've been the last several years. They're winning games. Probably won't go to a bowl game, but you never know. But they're playing teams close. I mean, who would have thought they would have lost to USC, 45-37? Maybe last spring you were thinking they would have lost 45-3. But hey, Arizona's improving. We'll see what happens the rest of this year and into the next year. You never know. Especially with USC and UCLA leaving, hey, they might try to rule the Pac-12 if Pac-12 is still around. Still can't figure out what's going on with Stanford. They lose to UCLA 38-13. I like David Shaw. He's a good coach, but after this kind of stuff going on, you just wonder how much longer he's going to be there. And there's a lot of coaches that are good coaches. They just had a couple bad seasons. David Shaw, Pat Fitzgerald, Kirk Ferentz, a lot of good coaches. You just wonder how much longer the school's going to hang on to these guys, because these guys have been there a while, So I guess we'll see what happens. But hey, anyway, UCLA's DTR, 199 passing yards, a rushing touchdown. Charbonnet, 21 rushes, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. 523 total yards for UCLA. On Stanford side, McKee, 115 passing yards, touchdown pass to Jurasek, 270 total yards. That's crazy. Man, these Stanford offenses under David Shaw are usually a hell of a lot better than that. In these last couple of years, like, what's going on there? I didn't watch this game because I didn't give a rat's ass, even though they made a game out of it. Ole Miss beat A&M, Texas A&M 31-28. I kept seeing updates on Twitter. I was like, no, I ain't going to go watch it. I'm done. I'm done this year. I ain't going to go watch it. I don't care if they come back and win that game. I'm still done with them this year. So, anyway, Ole Miss's Dart, 140 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Judkins, 205 rushing yards and a touchdown. 530 total yards for Ole Miss. But I will tell you one thing that I am kind of, I don't know if I'm excited about it, but it's a bright light for us A&M fans. Johnson out with injury, Haynes King out with injury. So the third stringer guy comes in, Weidman, threw for 338 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the future does look kind of bright. I just don't know if it's going to be bright with Jimbo Fisher or if it's going to be really bright with somebody else. Because I don't know, man. You got a good quarterback, and then you look at you wonder how Jimbo's going to screw that up, and I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Muhammad, 112 receiving yards and a touchdown. A&M ended up with 480 total yards. So we'll see what happens there. Kind of didn't expect this one either. Notre Dame 41, Syracuse 24. Syracuse, good team, played a hell of a game against Clemson until they kind of fell apart there a little bit at the end. I thought they would beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame's not as good as they have been, but hey, Notre Dame went up there to Syracuse and pulled it out. Pine, 116 passing yards and a touchdown. Estein, 123 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Joseph had a 29-yard pick 6 for the Irish. Syracuse, Del Rio, Wilson, 190 passing yards and a touchdown. Syracuse, They were, as of yesterday, 16. I don't know if they'll stay in the top 25 after this, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Illinois keeps rolling through the West. They beat Nebraska 26-9. Illinois' DeVito, 20 for 22, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brown, 149 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also caught a touchdown pass also. Williams, 46-yard TD catch. Illinois ended up with 248 total yards. Nebraska's Thompson, 172 passing yards, touchdown. He threw 2 interceptions. Vokolek, 56-yard touchdown catch for the Huskers. Illinois, 18 first downs. Nebraska only had 9 first downs in that whole game. Illinois was 7 for 15 on third down. Nebraska 2 for 12. Illinois 300 and let's see here, 367 total yards. The 248 I mentioned earlier, that's Nebraska. Nebraska 248 total yards. Illinois 367. Illinois had 72 yards of penalties in that game. Nebraska's getting better. I mean, I don't know if they'll keep their interim coach, but they seem to be playing a hell of a lot better with him than they were with Scott Frost, so we'll see. Illinois having a heck of a season, though. Just wonder if they win the West and go to the Big Ten championship game, they're probably going to play Ohio State or Michigan. Man, that dream season might come to an end real quick. But as we've seen, Ohio State yesterday, Penn State came real close to pulling it off. So Ohio State has shown they're beatable. Michigan has shown some weak spots, but not as bad as Ohio State has. So I think it's probably going to come down to the Ohio State-Michigan game. Who's going to go to the Big Ten championship game? I would say if it's Ohio State, Illinois got a chance. If it's Michigan, I don't know. That's gonna be tough. Cincinnati, boy, they're falling from grace, aren't they? UCF beat them 25-21. Central Florida's Keene, 176 passing yards. Harvey, 84 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Cincinnati's Bryant, he had a good day, though. 298 passing yards and a touchdown. Montgomery, 40 rushing yards and a touchdown. Central Florida, 505 total yards. Their defense had 4 sacks. UCF only had 1 penalty in this game. If I remember, it was a 15-yarder. So, I don't know, pass interference or unsportsmanlike conduct or something. Another team I'm impressed with. We thought they were going to be good last year, but they weren't. But this year, they're like North Carolina. They beat Pitt 42-24. Pitt actually led this game by 3 at halftime. May, quarterback for North Carolina, that guy's incredible. 388 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Man. Green had 180 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. North Carolina, 474 total yards in this game. For Pitt, Abanacondo, 127 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Good game for him. Slovis, 236 passing yards. Pitt ended up at 367 total yards. Looks like the magic of Mac Brown and Gene Chizik are starting to gel more and more. Looks like they're getting back to where they were there at Texas. So North Carolina might be a force to reckon with here in the future if those two stay on and keep getting good players in there. South Carolina's 1 week in the top 25. It's going to end. Missouri beats them 23-10, which I didn't see this one coming either. South Carolina's been on a hot roll. Playing at home against the Missouri team is just kind of I figured they would win that one. I don't know what the hell happened there. Mizzou's Cook, 224 passing yards. Schroeder, 81 rushing yards and a touchdown. Rattler for South Carolina, 171 passing yards. Threw an interception, but he did rush for a touchdown. Mizzou was 8 for 16 on third down, 367 total yards. Defense sacked Rattler 4 times. South Carolina, 14 first downs in this one, 5 for 13 on third down, 203 total yards, only 32 rushing yards, and they committed 2 turnovers. So, could be a lot to do with why they lost. Miami of Ohio, they beat Akron 27-9, which is kind of crazy because, okay, let's go with these numbers here. Gabbert for Miami of Ohio, 184 passing yards, touchdown. Warren had 62-yard pick six. On the Akron side, Irons, 316 passing yards and a touchdown. Adams, 115 receiving yards and a touchdown. Akron had more first downs in this game, better on third and fourth down also, more total yards. They did commit 3 turnovers, and they did have 80 yards in penalties. But still, you wonder with the better numbers of Miami of Ohio, did the penalties and the turnovers, was that a big enough factor for them to lose 27-9? Maybe. Okay. Arkansas beat Auburn 41-27. This actually was a 4-point game at halftime. Each defense in this one got 3 sacks. So good for them. Jefferson for Arkansas, 234 passing yards, touchdown. He also ran for 2 touchdowns. Dubinian, he rushed for 2 touchdowns also. Ashford for Auburn, not a bad day for him. 285 passing yards and a touchdown. Bigsby, he had a 41-yard touchdown run. Auburn was also 11 for 19 on third down. So, I don't know. They got the players. Maybe like a lot of people are saying, it is the coaching. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Navy beat Temple 27-20. Navy only had 12 first downs in this game. They were 8 for 21 on third down, 224 total yards. Temple, 288 total yards, 3 turnovers, and Navy sacked their quarterback 4 times. So, SMU beats Tulsa 45-34. Stone for SMU, he was in for Mordecai, 219 passing yards and a touchdown. Levine had 3 rushing touchdowns for the Mustangs. Tulsa's Braxton, 120 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Stakes, 122 receiving yards and a touchdown. SMU, 468 total yards. Defense had 5 sacks in this game. Tulsa, they were 3 for 4 on fourth down. Not too bad. They committed 2 turnovers, though, and 398 total yards for Tulsa. North Texas, man, they just beat up on Western Kentucky 40-13. The defense was awesome. This is the offense. Defense helped commit 2 turnovers, and they had 2 sacks. North Texas is owned 322 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Ward, 101 receiving yards and a touchdown. 541 total yards for North Texas. Western Kentucky's Reed, 320 passing yards. How many is that? 300. Oh, just a touchdown. I was looking at the wrong column. I was like, he didn't throw that many touchdowns. 320 passing yards, touchdown, through an interception. 466 total yards for Western Kentucky. And Narveson, the kicker for Western Kentucky, 43 32-yard field goals. So a couple of pretty good distance field goals. South Alabama beat Arkansas State 31-3. Webb for South Alabama, 28 carries, 162 yards, 3 touchdowns. Man, he had a hell of a day. Wayne had a 49-yard TD catch. Arkansas State only had 9 first downs in this game and only 158 total yards. So, I don't know what to say about the Red Wolves, man. Boise beat up on Colorado State 49-10. Green had 305 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 2 touchdowns. Holaney, 108 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Defense had 5 sacks, and Boise racked up 514 total yards on the poor Rams. Florida Atlantic beat UAB 24-17. Perry for Florida Atlantic, 187 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Burton had a 50-yard TD catch. Ford, he had a 35-yard TD catch. Anything good for UAB? McBride, 168 rushing yards. One of them was a 63-yard touchdown run, so a little bit good news there for UAB. Let's see here. Coastal Carolina beats Marshall 24-13. Both teams are horrible on third down in this game. I don't know what was going on there, but McCall for Coastal Carolina, 121 passing yards, threw a touchdown pass. He also ran for a touchdown. Marshall's LeBourne, he had a 2-yard TD run, and everything else is field goals for Marshall. So Arizona State beat Colorado 42-34. Okay, so 42-34. Are these just two really bad teams that evened up well? Or was Colorado getting better, trying to catch up with the other people in the Pac-12? I don't know, but it's 42-34. Colorado Stroud, 222 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, so ain't all that bad. Arizona State, 557 total yards. Colorado, 359. This was a good one, too. I watched, after the Tennessee-Kentucky game was over, I watched the rest of this game. Baylor 45, Texas Tech 17. Reese for Baylor, 36 carries, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns. Man. They were 12 for 20 on third down, 2 for 4 on fourth down. Texas Tech's Morton, 152 passing yards, threw a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, but he also threw 3 interceptions in this one. They were 8 for 15 on third down. Baylor defense sacked Texas Tech's quarterback 6 times, which they kind of involved different they played different quarterbacks throughout this whole game. I don't know if they were trying to find something. The coach was pissed at this one, put the next one in because we're not doing nothing. I don't know. But they played like 4 or 5 quarterbacks in that game. But Baylor sacked them 6 times. Forced 5 turnovers in this game. Defense was pretty outstanding. McCarty, he had an 18-yard pick 6 for the Bears. Yeah. Baylor wins 45-17. Middle Tennessee beat UTEP 24-13. Middle Tennessee's defense, they had 5 sacks in this game. UTEP's defense had 4 sacks in this one. Middle Tennessee's Cunningham, 21-27, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not bad. Lane had 7 catches for 147 yards and a 75-yard touchdown catch. UTEP's Hardison, 177 passing yards, touchdown, interception. Smith, he had 10 catches, 117 yards and a touchdown for UTEP. Fresno beat San Diego State 32-28. Hayner for Fresno, 394 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 2 picks. Remigio for Fresno, 10 catches, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defense forced 5 turnovers in this game for Fresno. San Jose State beats Nevada 35-28. Corderio for San Jose State, 340 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Nice game for him. Robinson rushed for 2 touchdowns. Tava for Nevada, 23 carries for 75 yards, 3 running touchdowns. Not too bad for him either. Castile, he had a 53-yard touchdown catch for Nevada, but a little too late. Okay, and last one, we didn't get to see on TV like we usually would have because of Hawaii's BS. But they lost to Wyoming 27-20 in Honolulu. Peasley for Wyoming, 2 rushing touchdowns. McNeely had a 61-yard rushing touchdown. Wyoming racked up 441 total yards. Hawaii's Shager, he had 2 touchdown passes. Hawaii racked up 350 total yards. That is it. But we got some games coming up. Usually this time of year, the MAC conference starts playing weekday games. We're in that time of year, so here we go. Tuesday, Ball State at Kent State, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPNU. Buffalo at Ohio, which that one might be pretty good. 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Those are Tuesday. Wednesday, you got Western Michigan at Bowling Green, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Central Michigan at Northern Illinois, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. So there you go. We'll be back Thursday. Preview the weekend. We got those big games. Tennessee and Georgia. LSU, Alabama. And the other one is Texas and somebody. Texas and K-State, maybe? I forget. Anyway, yeah, we got some good games next weekend. So, hey, y'all have a great week. Keep yourselves busy so it goes by fast so the weekend can hurry up and get here again. Be careful, and we'll see you Thursday.